Lucien watched from the shadows as Celeste collapsed over his corpse, her blood tears soaking his funeral shroud. Through their mate bond, he felt her soul beginning to shatter. Real grief, real agony, real love. His test had worked. She'd proven her loyalty, and now she was going to die for it. Bloodbound Chronicles welcomes you to the shadows where werewolves howl, vampires reign, and hearts are bound by oaths stronger than steel. Every story here transforms pain into power, betrayal into triumph. Subscribe and let the darkness embrace you. Your saga begins tonight. The plan had been perfect. Lucien had spent weeks orchestrating every detail. The fake assassination, the planted evidence, the trusted guards sworn to secrecy. He'd even convinced Dimitri, his ancient advisor, to use forbidden magic that would mask his life signs and make him appear truly dead to any vampire sense. "This is madness, Your Majesty," Dimitri had protested the night before. "The mate bond doesn't lie. What you feel from her is genuine. My first mate fooled the bond for 2 centuries. Lucien had cut him off, his voice ice. Katerina stood beside me, swore eternal love. Let me feel contentment and devotion through our connection, right up until the moment she tried to stake me in my sleep. His red eyes had blazed in the darkness. Ancient magic can fake bonds. With the right bloodlines, the right spells, even soul-deep connections can be manufactured. I will not be deceived again. Now, lying motionless on the cold stone floor of his war chamber, an ashwood stake protruding from his chest at the perfect angle to appear fatal, Lucien waited. Around him, his most trusted guards maintained the scene. Overturned furniture, scorch marks from vampire fire, his own blood splattered across ancient tapestries. The assassin, his loyal guard Gregor in disguise, had already fled into the night. Perfect, all perfect. Then he heard the screaming. "Where is he?" Celeste's voice echoed through the stone corridors, raw with panic. "Someone tell me what happened." Footsteps thundered closer. She must have shifted to vampire speed the moment she'd heard. Lucien kept his breathing stopped, his heart still, every muscle locked in death's rigor. The performance had to be flawless. The war chamber doors exploded inward. Celeste burst through, her midnight blue gown torn from running, her dark hair wild, her green eyes, usually so warm, blazing with desperate hope that died the instant she saw him. "No." The word left her as a whisper, a prayer, a denial. "No, no, no." She crossed the chamber in a blur, dropping to her knees beside him. Her hands found him immediately, checking for breath, for heartbeat, for any sign of life. Finding none, she gripped the stake, preparing to pull it free. "Your Majesty, don't." Dimitri caught her wrist, playing his role perfectly. "It's ashwood soaked in holy water. Removing it now would only spread the poison faster. The old vampire's voice broke convincingly. "He's gone, my queen." "He can't be gone." Celeste's voice shook. "We're immortal. Vampires don't just die. We have to. There must be something." Through the mate bond, which even Dimitri's magic couldn't fully sever, Lucien felt everything she felt. The denial, the desperate hope. The crushing grief begins to crash over her like waves drowning a swimmer. No calculation, no relief, no secret satisfaction at being free of him. Just devastation, pure and absolute. "The assassin was from the southern territories," Dimitri continued, his tone grave. "Part of the conspiracy His Majesty discovered tonight. They must have planned this for months, the ashwood stake, the poison, the timing. He never stood a chance." Celeste made a sound that wasn't quite human, a keening wail that raised every hair on Lucien's supposedly dead body. She collapsed over him, her blood tears falling onto his face, her hands clutching his shirt as if she could anchor him to existence through sheer force of will. "Lucien," she sobbed, using his name instead of his title for the first time in public. "Please don't do this. Please don't leave me. I can't. I don't know how to exist without you." Through the bond, Lucien felt her emotions in crystalline clarity. Love, profound and unconditional. grief that was tearing her newly immortal soul apart. And underneath it all, a growing resolve that sent ice through his veins. She wasn't going to continue without him. "Your Majesty," Dmitri said gently, though Lucien could hear the fear creeping into his advisor's voice. Dmitri could feel through their mental link what Lucien was sensing through the mate bond. "The kingdom needs you. You must be strong for. The kingdom can burn." Celeste's voice went flat, empty of everything except grim determination. "He was my mate, my soul. Without him, there's nothing. No kingdom, no crown, no eternity worth living." She stood abruptly, her decision made. Through the bond, Lucien felt her plan crystallize with terrible clarity. She would greet the dawn. Let the sun take her. Follow him into whatever comes after death. Horror flooded through him. His test had worked too well. She'd proven her loyalty beyond any doubt, and it was going to kill her. "Your Majesty, please." Dmitri grabbed her arm as she turned toward the door. "You can't mean. Watch me." She pulled free with new vampire strength. "He saved me from death once. Turned me. Gave me forever. Taught me what it meant to be loved. I'm not going to spend eternity without him. I won't." "But the sun," one of the guards protested, "will be a mercy." Celeste looked back at Lucien's body one last time, her expression carved from grief and love. "Tell the court I died of a broken heart. It'll be true enough." She walked out of the war chamber, her steps steady despite the tears still streaming down her face. Lucien felt her moving through the castle, heading toward the eastern tower, the one with the balcony that faced the sunrise. Dawn was perhaps 20 minutes away, 20 minutes before she stepped into light that would incinerate her in seconds. He'd been so certain she'd reveal herself, so convinced that she was another Katerina, using him for his power, his immortality, his crown. He'd expected celebration, scheming, perhaps even an immediate grab for his throne. Instead, she was preparing to die because a world without him wasn't a world she wanted to exist in. Through the bond, he felt her climbing the tower steps, felt her emerge onto the balcony, felt her settle on the stone ledge to wait for the sun that would end her. "Your Majesty." Dmitri's mental voice slammed into Lucien's mind with unprecedented urgency. "Your Majesty, she's actually going to do it. She's on the East Tower. Dawn is 18 minutes away. End this. End this now before." Lucien's eyes snapped open. The guards gasped. Dmitri exhaled in relief. But Lucien had no time for explanations. He pulled the fake stake from his chest, the prop coming free cleanly, and shifted to vampire speed. He had 18 minutes to reach the Eastern Tower. 18 minutes to reveal his deception before the woman he loved. And yes, he loved her, had loved her from the moment the mate bond formed, which was why he'd been so terrified of trusting it. Died because of his paranoia. 18 minutes to undo the damage his test had caused. If she forgave him, it would be a miracle. If she didn't, he would deserve every moment of her hatred. Either way, he was done testing her loyalty. His own was the one that had failed. Chapter 2. The Race Against Dawn. Lucien's vampire speed carried him through the castle corridors in a blur of shadow and desperation. Guards stumbled back in shock as their supposedly dead king tore past them. But he had no time for explanations. 17 minutes until dawn. Through the mate bond, he felt Celeste sitting on the balcony ledge, perfectly still, her emotions settling into an eerie calm. She'd made her peace with death. "I was waiting for it like an old friend." "Celeste," he tried to call through the bond, pushing his thoughts toward her. "Celeste, I'm alive. Please don't." But the magic Dmitri had used to fake his death had dampened their connection. She couldn't hear him, couldn't feel that he was conscious, running, desperate to reach her. She only felt the echo of what he'd been, the bond slowly fading as she believed him dead. Lucien hit the tower stairs at full speed, taking them 3 at a time. His lungs burned despite not needing to breathe. His heart, still cold, dead for 3 centuries, somehow felt like it was breaking. 15 minutes. He burst through the tower door onto the balcony. Celeste sat on the stone ledge, her back to him, her dark hair lifting in the pre-dawn breeze. The eastern horizon was beginning to lighten, not dangerously yet, but the warning of what was coming. Celeste. His voice came out hoarse, wrecked. She went rigid, didn't turn around. You're not real, she said flatly. You're a hallucination, grief-induced. I've read about new vampires losing their minds after trauma. My brain is showing me what I want to see before I die. I'm real. Lucien took a cautious step forward. I'm alive. The assassination was staged. The words stuck in his throat like shards of glass. I faked my death to test you. Silence. Then, slowly, Celeste turned. Her face was a mask of blood-dried tear tracks and absolute emptiness. Her green eyes, usually so vibrant, looked dead despite the immortality animating her body. You faked your death? She repeated, her voice completely devoid of emotion. To test me? Yes. Because you thought I was lying about loving you. Yes. Even though we have a bond. Even though you can feel my emotions through it. Bonds can be faked, Lucien said, the excuse sounding hollow even to his own ears. With ancient magic, with the right bloodlines. I don't have ancient magic. Celeste's voice was still that terrible flat calm. I'm not some centuries-old vampire with hidden powers. I was a human 3 months ago. A human dying in an alley because I was in the wrong place at the wrong time. You saved me, turned me, gave me forever. She laughed. A broken, bitter sound. And you thought all of that was some elaborate scheme to steal your crown? My first mate. I'm not your first mate. The words cracked like a whip. I'm not Katerina. I never was. But you couldn't see that, could you? Couldn't trust that maybe, just maybe, someone could actually love you without ulterior motives. She stood up on the ledge. The sky was definitely lightening now. Maybe 10 minutes until the sun broke the horizon. Celeste, please. Lucien moved forward, hands raised in supplication. Come down. Come away from the ledge. I'm sorry. I'm so sorry. I was wrong. The test proved you loved me. Proved it beyond any doubt. Oh, did it? Her smile was sharp as broken glass. Well, I'm so glad my grief was convincing enough for you. Tell me, Lucien, when exactly were you planning to reveal yourself? After I'd mourned appropriately? After I'd proven my loyalty by ruling well in your absence? Or were you just going to stay dead forever and watch me from the shadows? I was going to reveal myself tonight, he said desperately. After the funeral. After I'd seen your reaction. I never meant for you to. I didn't think didn't think I'd want to die without you? Celeste's laugh was hollow. What did you think would happen? That I'd throw a party? That I'd immediately start scheming for power? That I'd reveal myself as the secret gold digger you were convinced I was? Through the bond. Growing stronger now that he was close. Now that his life signs were undeniable. Lucien felt her emotions finally breaking through the numbness. Not the grief he'd witnessed before. Not love. Rage. Pure, incandescent rage. You know what the worst part is? Celeste's voice shook. I mourned you. I really mourned you. I felt my soul tearing apart. I experienced the kind of grief that makes you understand why people go mad. And the entire time you were watching, judging, waiting to see if I'd pass your fucked up little loyalty test. I know, Lucien said, his voice breaking. I know, and I have no excuse, no justification. What I did was cruel and unforgivable. But please come down from that ledge. Why should I? Celeste looked at the brightening horizon. Maybe I should greet the dawn anyway, teach you what real loss feels like. Show you what it means to actually lose someone you love instead of just pretending to. Terror unlike anything Lucien had felt in 3 centuries flooded through him. Don't. Please. Celeste, I love you. I do. That's why I was so scared. Why I couldn't trust it. You don't get to use love as an excuse for cruelty. Her voice was steel. You don't get to say, I love you, and expect it to fix what you've broken. The sky was definitely lighter now. 5 minutes, maybe less. You're right, Lucien said, and meant it. You're absolutely right. I don't deserve your forgiveness. I don't deserve you at all. I'm a paranoid monster who couldn't recognize genuine love because I was too busy looking for betrayal. He took another step forward. But whether you forgive me or not, whether you spend the next 1,000 years hating me or not, please don't die. Please. I can't lose you. Not really. You already lost me. Celeste's eyes were bright with unshed tears. The moment you decided to fake your death and test me, you lost me. Because the woman you were testing, she doesn't exist anymore. That Celeste died in your war chamber when she thought you were gone. I'm what's left, and I don't know if I can love someone who hurt me like this. The words hit like stakes to the heart, more painful than anything physical could ever be. I understand, Lucien said quietly. But please, even if you can never forgive me, even if you hate me forever, just come down. Come inside. Don't let my mistake end your eternity. Why? Celeste's voice cracked. Why should I give you that mercy when you showed me none? Because you're better than me. Lucien felt tears, blood tears, the only kind vampires could cry, sliding down his face. Because you actually are everything I was too paranoid to believe. You're kind and genuine and loving in ways I've forgotten how to be. The world needs people like you, Celeste. I need you, even if you never want to see me again. The sky was definitely pink now. 3 minutes, maybe 2. Celeste looked at him, at the tears on his face, at the desperate sincerity in his expression. Through the bond, now fully restored, he let her feel everything. His terror, his regret, his love, and underneath it all, his absolute certainty that he deserved every bit of her hatred. If I come down, she said slowly, if I don't greet the dawn, it doesn't mean I forgive you. It doesn't mean we're okay. It just means I'm choosing to live. For me, not for you. I understand. And you're going to leave me alone. I need time, space. I don't know how long, maybe forever, but you're going to respect that. Anything, Lucien said immediately. Anything you need. Celeste stared at him for one more long moment. The sun was perhaps 90 seconds from breaking the horizon. Close enough that Lucien could feel the warning tingle on his skin, the ancient instinct screaming danger. Then, finally, she stepped down from the ledge. Lucien's knees nearly buckled with relief. But before he could say anything, before he could thank her or apologize again or do anything, Celeste held up her hand. Don't, she said flatly. Don't thank me. Don't apologize again. Just go. I'll come inside when I'm ready. Alone. It was dismissal absolute and final. Every instinct Lucien had screamed at him to stay, to keep her safe, to make sure she actually came inside before the sun rose fully. But he'd tested her loyalty and nearly destroyed her in the process. The least he could do was trust her now, when it actually mattered. All right, he said quietly, and walked toward the tower door. He paused at the threshold, couldn't help looking back. Celeste stood with her back to him, her arms wrapped around herself, staring at the horizon where the sun would rise in seconds. I love you, he said, and I will spend the rest of eternity proving it. If you'll let me. Even if you won't. He didn't wait for a response. Pulled the door closed behind him just as the first rays of sunlight split the horizon, flooding the balcony with deadly golden light. Through the bond, he felt Celeste flinch back from the light, turn, and walk through the tower door to safety. She'd chosen life. Now he had to figure out how to deserve her choice. Would you forgive someone who faked their death to test your love? Or are some betrayals impossible to come back from? Drop your answer below. We need to hear your truth. Chapter 3. The consequences. The castle was in chaos. News had spread that their king had somehow survived his assassination, or rather, that he'd faked it. The story varied depending on who was telling it. Some said he'd been testing the court's loyalty, others whispered about ancient magic gone wrong. A few claimed he'd actually died and been resurrected. The truth, that he'd staged his murder to test his mate, spread like wildfire, and the court's opinion was unified. He was a monster. Unprecedented cruelty. Lady Morgana, one of the oldest vampires in the kingdom, said loudly enough for Lucien to hear as he walked through the throne room. To fake his death and let his mate believe for what? Paranoid games. He's become what Katerina feared he'd become, Lord Vance muttered. A tyrant who trusts no one. Lucien bore it all in silence. He deserved every whisper, every judgment, every look of disgust from nobles who'd served him for centuries. Dmitri found him in the war chamber, where the staged assassination scene had been cleaned away. The ancient advisor's expression was carefully neutral, but through their mental link, Lucien felt his disappointment clearly. The Queen has taken residence in the West Tower, Dmitri reported formally. She's ordered that no one, including and especially you, disturb her. She'll handle her royal duties via written correspondence until further notice. How is she? Lucien asked quietly. How do you think? Dmitri's neutrality cracked. You broke her, sire. Whether she forgives you or not, she'll carry this wound forever. I know. Do you? The old vampire's eyes flashed. Because I warned you. I told you the mate bond doesn't lie, that what you felt from her was genuine, and you ignored me. You ignored everyone who tried to tell you the truth, because you were too damaged by Katerina to see what was right in front of you. You're right, Lucien said. About all of it. Being right gives me no pleasure. Dmitri sighed. What will you do now? What she asked. Give her space. Time. However much she needs. Lucien looked at his hands. Hands that had held her, comforted her, betrayed her, and hoped that someday, she'll let me try to make this right. Days passed, then weeks. Celeste handled her duties as queen flawlessly despite her self-imposed isolation, issuing orders and judgments through written notes, meeting with advisors while Lucien was elsewhere in the castle. She was meticulous about avoiding him, and he honored her wishes even though every day without seeing her felt like dying slowly. Through the mate bond, which she couldn't sever even if she wanted to, he felt her emotions. The grief had faded to numbness. The rage had cooled to cold anger. But underneath it all, he felt her struggling. Not just with him, but with herself. She still loved him. He could feel it, an ember that hadn't quite died despite everything. And she hated that she loved him. Hated that the mate bond kept that connection alive. Hated that her heart wouldn't let go even when her mind demanded it. He was sending her flowers. Night-blooming jasmine, her favorite, when a new crisis forced their separation to end. Your Majesty. A guard burst into his study, his face pale. The Southern Territories. They've sent an army. They heard about your assassination and didn't wait to find out if it was real. They're marching on the castle now. 10,000 strong. Lucien was on his feet instantly. Gather the war council. Mobilize the guard. And, he paused, inform the queen, because as much as he wanted to protect her, to keep her safe and separate from this danger, she was his co-ruler. She deserved to be part of this decision. 30 minutes later, they faced each other across the war table for the first time in 3 weeks. Celeste looked thinner, paler, with shadows under her green eyes that hadn't been there before. But she held herself with rigid control, her expression carefully neutral. The Southern Territories believe you're dead, she said without preamble, not looking at him. They've decided to take advantage of the perceived weakness and claim your territory. Our territory, Lucien corrected quietly. Your queen. This is your kingdom too. Is it? Her voice was sharp. Or was that also fake? Were you planning to test how I ruled before deciding if I deserved the crown? The words hit home. Around the war table, advisors shifted uncomfortably. It was never fake, Lucien said. Your crown, your title, your place at my side. All of it was real. The only thing I faked was my death, and I will regret that mistake until my last breath. Which may come sooner than you think, Lord Vance interjected. The Southern Army outnumbers our guard 3 to 1. If we fight them conventionally, we'll lose. Then we don't fight conventionally, Celeste said, her tactical mind clearly working. The southern territories are arrogant. They think we're in chaos, grieving, disorganized. We use that. She began outlining a strategy, using the enemy's assumptions against them, setting traps, making the castle seem more vulnerable than it was while secretly mobilizing their full strength. It was brilliant, ruthless, and exactly the kind of plan that would minimize their losses while maximizing the enemy's. Lucien watched her command the room, saw his advisors responding to her authority with genuine respect, and felt something crack open in his chest. This was who she'd always been, strong, strategic, worthy of being queen regardless of their mate bond. He'd just been too paranoid to see it. "Your Majesty," he said when she finished, "your plan is excellent. I propose one addition. I'll offer myself in single combat with their leader. Old tradition. If I win, they retreat. If I lose, they take the castle without bloodshed." "No," Celeste said immediately. "It's the best way to." "I said no." Her eyes finally met his, blazing with emotion. "You don't get to martyr yourself to make up for what you did. You don't get to die heroically and leave me dealing with the consequences again. I wouldn't lose. You don't know that." Her control cracked, voice rising. "And I am not going through losing you again, really losing you this time. So no, absolutely not. We execute my plan, we fight together. And if anyone's offering themselves for single combat, it'll be me." "Like hell. Then I guess neither of us is doing it," Celeste snapped. "Are we agreed?" Lucien stared at her, at the fierce protectiveness in her expression despite her anger at him. She still cared. Despite everything, she still cared enough to refuse to risk him. "Agreed," he said quietly. They prepared for battle together, their first cooperation in weeks. It was strained, professional, neither of them willing to discuss anything beyond tactics and timing. But it was something. The Southern Army arrived at sunset, confident and cocky. They found what appeared to be a grieving, disorganized kingdom with minimal defenses. They found a trap. Celeste's plan worked perfectly. The enemy marched into killing fields they'd mistaken for abandoned courtyards. Their vanguard fell to hidden crossbows loaded with ashwood bolts. Their siege equipment burned before reaching the walls, set aflame by fire vampires who'd been waiting in underground tunnels. And when their commander finally realized the trap and tried to retreat, he found Lucien and Celeste waiting, together. "Your dead king lives," Lucien said, his voice carrying across the battlefield. "And his queen is more than capable of defending her territory. Retreat now and we'll let you leave with your lives. Continue, and we'll teach you why challenging the oldest vampire kingdom was always suicide." The enemy commander looked at his decimated forces, at the trap that had destroyed half his army in minutes, at the two rulers standing united against him. He wasn't stupid. "Retreat," he called. "Fall back. We're leaving." The Southern Army fled in disarray. Victory was absolute and far less bloody than it could have been, thanks entirely to Celeste's strategy. When the last enemy soldier disappeared over the horizon, Celeste turned to walk back to the castle without a word. "Celeste, wait," Lucien called. She stopped but didn't turn around. "Thank you," he said, "for the plan, for defending our kingdom, for," his voice cracked, "for still caring enough to make sure I didn't do something stupid." "I didn't do it for you," she said flatly. "I did it because I'm not ready to be a widow after 3 months of marriage. Don't read more into it than that." But through the bond, he felt her truth. She had done it for him at least partly, because despite everything, despite the betrayal and the hurt and the broken trust, she still loved him, and she hated herself for it. Chapter 4. The Reckoning. 2 more weeks passed. The crisis had forced them to work together. But once it was over, Celeste retreated to her isolation again. Lucien gave her space, continued sending flowers, wrote letters he never sent, and tried to figure out how to fix something that might be permanently broken. Then, one night, there was a knock on his chamber door. He opened it to find Celeste standing there, her expression unreadable. "May I come in?" she asked formally. "Of course." He stepped aside, heart hammering despite being dead for centuries. She entered, looked around his chambers. She'd never actually been here, he realized. They'd always gone to her rooms or met in neutral spaces. She'd never seen where he actually lived. "I've been thinking," she said finally, "about us, about what happened, about whether there's any way forward from here. And," Lucien hardly dared to hope, "and I don't know." She turned to face him. "I'm still angry, still hurt. Every time I close my eyes, I see myself collapsed over your body, feeling my soul tear apart, and I know you were watching it all, judging whether my grief was real enough." "I wasn't judging." "Yes, you were." Celeste cut him off. "That's exactly what you were doing. Testing whether I'd pass some impossible loyalty standard based on your past trauma with someone I've never met and have nothing to do with." She moved to his window, looking out at the moonlit kingdom. "But I've also been thinking about why. Really thinking about it. And I keep coming back to Katerina." Lucien flinched at the name. "Tell me about her," Celeste said. "Not the simple version you told before. The full story. I need to understand what broke you this badly." So Lucien told her. All of it. He told her about meeting Katerina 300 years ago, about falling desperately in love, about the mate bond forming and making him think he'd finally found his equal, his partner, his forever. He told her about 2 centuries of what he thought was perfect love. Ruling together, building the kingdom, facing every challenge side by side. "She was perfect," he said quietly. "Or I thought she was. Brilliant, strategic, passionate. She knew exactly what to say, how to touch me, how to make me feel understood. The bond sang between us constantly, showing me her love, her devotion, her absolute loyalty." "What happened?" Celeste asked softly. "I found out it was all fake." Lucien's voice went hollow. "An ancient vampire, someone from before even my time, approached me one night, said Katerina had paid him to craft a false mate bond, that she'd never actually been my fated mate, just an ambitious vampire who wanted a crown. I didn't believe him at first. How could I? The bond felt real. 2 centuries of love couldn't be a lie." He closed his eyes, remembering. "So I tested her, set a trap, pretended to be gone for the night but stayed hidden in the castle. I watched her meet with nobles I didn't trust, and heard her promise them power if they helped her take my throne. Listened to her laugh about how easy I was to manipulate, how the false bond kept me stupid and trusting." Celeste's hand found his. She didn't say anything, just held on. "That night, when I went to our bed, she tried to stare at me in my sleep," Lucien continued. "Said she'd loved me once, actually loved me. But that was before she realized how much she wanted power more. The fake bond had worked for 200 years because she'd meant it at first. Then she stopped meaning it, but I never noticed because the magic kept showing me what used to be true." "So you killed her," Celeste said quietly. "In self-defense," Lucien confirmed. "The stake meant for my heart went through hers instead. She died calling me a fool for ever trusting her." He opened his eyes, meeting Celeste's gaze. "And I swore I'd never be that fool again. Never trust blindly. Never believe a mate bond without proof." "So you tested me," Celeste said. "The same way you wished you'd tested her." "Yes." Shame flooded through him. "And I was so convinced you'd reveal yourself the same way. That given the chance, you'd show your true colors. That the love I felt through our bond was another lie I was too stupid to see. But I'm not Katerina." "No," Lucien said. "You're nothing like her. You're genuine and kind and incapable of the kind of calculated cruelty she used. I know that now. I should have known about it before." Celeste was quiet for a long moment. Then, "I need you to understand something. What you did. Faking your death, watching me grieve, testing whether my pain was real enough. That hurt me in ways I don't have words for. It made me question everything about us. Made me wonder if you'd ever actually trusted me, or if you've just been waiting for me to betray you like she did. I'm sorry. Let me finish. She squeezed his hand. But I also understand now why you did it. Not that it makes it okay. Not that it wasn't cruel and unforgivable. But I understand the fear, the trauma, the absolute terror of being deceived again by someone you've given everything to. She turned to face him fully. So here's what I need from you. Complete honesty. No more tests, no more paranoia, no more waiting for me to reveal some secret evil nature. If you can't trust the mate bond, if you can't trust what you feel for me, then you need to tell me now. Because I can't spend eternity wondering when the next test is coming. There won't be another test, Lucien said immediately. Ever. I saw your grief, Celeste. I felt what it did to you. There's no doubt left. None. You love me. Really love me. And I was a paranoid fool who nearly destroyed the best thing that's happened to me in 3 centuries. Then prove it, she said. Not with flowers or letters or space. Prove it by trusting me. Really trusting me. When I make decisions about the kingdom, trust them. When I tell you what I'm feeling, believe me. When I say I love you, her voice softened. Accept that it's true without needing evidence. I will, Lucien promised. I swear it. And I need you to get help, Celeste continued. Talk to Dimitri or one of the ancient vampires or someone. You have trauma from Katerina that I can't fix. That's not my job to fix. You need to deal with it so it doesn't poison everything good you try to build. All right. He'd do anything she asked. Anything at all. And finally, Celeste took a breath. I need time. I'm not ready to forgive you yet. I don't know if I ever fully will. What you did carved something out of me that I'm still learning to live without. But I'm willing to try, to see if we can rebuild trust from the ground up. If you're willing to be patient. However long it takes, Lucien said. Years, decades, centuries. I'll wait, and I'll prove every single day that you made the right choice by giving me this chance. Celeste studied his face for a long moment. Then, slowly, she stepped forward and rested her head against his chest. Lucien wrapped his arms around her carefully, afraid she'd pull away. But she didn't, just stood there, letting herself be held, letting herself feel safe with him again even if only for a moment. I still love you, she whispered. I hate that I do, after what you put me through, but I can't seem to stop. I love you too, Lucien murmured into her hair. And I will spend the rest of our eternity proving I deserve that love. That's my promise. My vow. No more tests, no more paranoia. Just trust. From here forward. They stood together in the moonlight, broken but not destroyed, hurt but healing. It would take time to fully rebuild what his test had damaged. Years, maybe. The scars would always be there. But they were still standing. Still together. Still willing to try. And for now, that was enough. 5 years later, the kingdom had never been more prosperous. Under Lucien and Celeste's joint rule, the vampire territories had expanded peacefully, trade had flourished, and the paranoid tyrant Lucien had been replaced by a king who actually listened to counsel. You've gotten soft, Dimitri observed one night, though his tone was affectionate. The old you would have executed that noble who questioned your judgment. The old me was an idiot, Lucien replied, signing off on trade agreements Celeste had negotiated. The new me has a queen smart enough to remind him when he's being unreasonable. Celeste entered the study at that moment, carrying correspondence from the Eastern Territories. She'd been handling diplomatic relations while Lucien managed military matters. A division of labor that played to both their strengths. The Eastern vampires have agreed to the treaty, she announced, which means we've achieved something no vampire kingdom has managed in 1,000 years. United territories without conquest. Because of you, Lucien said, standing to embrace her. Your diplomacy, your strategy, your ability to see past old grudges to new possibilities. Because of us, Celeste corrected, kissing him. I couldn't have done it without your support. Your willingness to trust my judgment even when it went against centuries of tradition. Their relationship had healed slowly, carefully. Celeste had never fully forgotten his test. The scar was still there, and would always be there. But she'd forgiven him eventually. And more importantly, he'd proven himself worthy of that forgiveness through years of consistent trust, honest communication, and willingness to be vulnerable. I have something for you, Lucien said, pulling a small box from his desk. Celeste eyed it warily. If this is another test. It's not. He opened the box to reveal a ring, silver etched with their joined crests. It's a promise that I'll never doubt you again, that I trust you completely, that I've finally learned to believe in the love you've given me without needing proof. Celeste took the ring, her eyes bright with blood tears. 5 years ago, I would have thrown this at your head, and you'd have been right to. But now, she slipped it on. Now I believe you mean it. She met his eyes. I forgive you, Lucien. Fully. Finally. For all of it. Thank you, he whispered. Thank you for seeing the monster to the man. For giving me a chance to be better than my fear. Thank you for becoming someone worthy of that chance. They held each other in the moonlight streaming through the study windows, and through the mate bond, they felt each other's absolute contentment. No doubt, no suspicion, no testing. Just love, hard-won and all the more precious for surviving the worst they could throw at it. I have something to tell you, Celeste said, pulling back with a mysterious smile. What? I'm pregnant. Lucien's world stopped. That's impossible. Vampires can't. Apparently ancient vampire kings mated to vampires with royal bloodlines, Celeste said, laughing at his shocked expression. Dimitri says it hasn't happened in 500 years. But it can happen. And it's happening to us. Joy unlike anything Lucien had felt in centuries flooded through him. A child. Their child. Proof that what they'd built from the ashes of his paranoid test was real, solid, capable of creating new life. Are you happy? Celeste asked, suddenly uncertain. Happy? Lucien pulled her close, spinning her around despite the dignified setting. I'm ecstatic, terrified and overwhelmed and completely unprepared, but ecstatic. Good. She kissed him. Because you're going to be a father in about 6 months, and I'm going to need you to trust my parenting decisions without testing whether I'm doing it right. I trust you, Lucien said immediately. Completely. With our child, with our kingdom, with my heart. No more tests. Ever. Good answer. Celeste smiled, and in that smile was everything. Forgiveness, love, hope for the future they were building together. The kingdom's prosperity continued. Their child was born healthy and perfect, a daughter they named Aurora. And through it all, Lucien kept his promise. He never tested Celeste again. Never questioned her loyalty. Never let his old paranoia poison what they'd created. Because he'd learned the hardest lesson. Sometimes the trust you break isn't in the person you're testing. It's in yourself. In your ability to recognize genuine love when it's staring you in the face. And rebuilding that trust in others, in yourself, in the possibility of happiness is the real test. One he was determined to pass every single day for the rest of their eternal lives. The end. You've witnessed the blood oath fulfilled. Now join the Bloodbound Chronicles family. Drop a comment sharing your favorite moment. Smash that like if this story moved you. And subscribe for more tales where the Forsaken become legends. Until the next moon rises, stay bound. Crescent Moon.